All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a set of fundamental rights today, but I want you to think of them a little differently. Think of them as your own personal shield, one that protects your liberty, your identity, and your dignity. And it's forged directly into the Indian Constitution.
So just imagine for a second, what if you were accused of a crime? Or worse, forced to testify against yourself? What if someone tried to deny you the right to your own culture? These aren't just abstract legal ideas, right? They're really high-stakes situations that could happen to anyone. And the rights we're about to cover, they are the direct answers, giving you real, concrete protection when you need it most.
So the best way to really get a handle on these articles is to stick with this idea of a powerful, multi-layered shield. Seriously, this shield was forged by the framers of the Constitution specifically to defend you, the citizen. So let's pull it apart layer by layer and see exactly what it protects you from. Okay, first up. The first, and honestly, the most critical layer of this shield. This is all about protecting your individual liberty against the immense power of the state. These are the absolute essentials, your safeguards for when you find yourself face-to-face with the law. So Article 20 gives you three really distinct and powerful defenses. First, there's no double jeopardy. Simple as that. You can't be punished for the same exact crime twice. Second, the law can't work backwards. They can't suddenly make something you did last year illegal today and then come after you for it. And third, and this is a real cornerstone of justice everywhere, you cannot be forced to be a witness against yourself. They can't make you do it. Now, this whole shield is really anchored by Article 21. And you could argue this is one of the most important rights in the entire Constitution. It's the very bedrock of personal freedom, and it lays down a simple but incredibly profound rule. The state cannot take away your life or your liberty without a fair, just, and established legal process. Period. But what makes Article 21 so vital is that the Supreme Court hasn't just left it as some static rule on a page. No way. They've expanded its meaning over the decades. See, the right to life isn't just about, breathing. It's about living a life with dignity. And that's exactly why it now includes things like the right to privacy, the right to a clean environment, education, and proper medical care. It's a living, breathing right that evolved right along with our society. And this expansion wasn't just talk. It led to a major change in the Constitution itself. Back in 2002, Article 21A was added, and this made education a fundamental right for every single child between the ages of 6 and 14. This wasn't just a policy goal anymore. It became a constitutional guarantee, stemming directly from that idea of a right to a dignified life. Okay, so what happens if you actually are arrested? Well, Article 22 kicks in with another crucial safeguard. It's a really important check on the power of law enforcement. The most critical rule here, an arrested person can't just be detained indefinitely. They must be brought before a magistrate within 24 hours. That's non-negotiable. It's there to make sure the arrest is even lawful in the first place.
All right, so that was protection from the state. The next layer of the shield protects you from something else. Not just the government, but exploitation from within society itself. This is what we can call your social shield.
So here, the Constitution takes on exploitation head-on. Article 23 casts a really wide net, banning human trafficking and any kind of forced labor, whether that's something as horrific as slavery or even being forced into begging. Then you've got Article 24, which gives a very specific, focused protection for the most vulnerable among us. It completely bans the employment of children under 14 in dangerous places like factories, mines, or any other hazardous job. And that brings us to the third and final layer of this shield. And this one protects something that is deeply, deeply personal: your identity. It's the Constitution's guarantee for your freedom of conscience, your faith, and your unique culture. This part of the shield works on 4 different levels. First, Article 25 protects your individual right to practice and profess your faith. Then, Article 26 expands that freedom to entire religious groups, letting them manage their own affairs. Next, Article 27 is pretty interesting. It ensures you can't be taxed to promote one specific religion. And finally, Article 28 keeps things secular in state-funded schools. It's a really comprehensive framework for religious freedom. Now, to understand the next couple of rights, we've got to define a key term.
When the Constitution talks about a minority in this context, it isn't just about population numbers. It actually refers to any community that has its own distinct language or religion. And that definition is the key to unlocking the next protections.
So, Article 29 gives every section of citizens the right to protect their identity. If your community has its own unique language or script or culture, you have a fundamental right to conserve it. Think of this as the defensive part of the shield. It's all about cultural preservation.
And then Article 30 takes it one big step further. It shifts from defense to offense, you could say. It goes from simply protecting your culture to actively promoting it. This article gives religious and linguistic minorities the right to set up and run their own educational institutions, making sure they can pass their heritage on to the next generation.
So after looking at all these layers, your liberty, your social protection, your identity, you have to ask, why does this all matter so much? Well, the ultimate purpose, the real heart of it, is best described with a single, incredibly powerful phrase.
These articles are often described as Bharatiya Samvidhan ki Atma, the very soul of the Indian Constitution. And trust me, that isn't just poetic language. It means that without these protections, the Constitution would just be a body without a spirit. This shield, this is what gives the whole document life and meaning for every single one of us.
Because ultimately, this shield isn't just some collection of legal rules. It's a promise. It's the Constitution's guarantee that every single citizen has the right to live a life marked by justice against unfair prosecution, liberty from the state, equality within society, and of course, the fundamental dignity that comes from being able to live as yourself.
And that leaves us with one final thought. This shield, as powerful as it is, was forged decades ago, but our world is constantly changing. So as we face all the new challenges of the 21st century, which part of this shield, the protection of our liberty, the fight against exploitation, or the defense of our identity, which part do you think is most critical and maybe needs strengthening the most today?